Day 14 at the World Cup. Today's Totally listener has got Tim Spiers here in the studio.
Hello.
Hi, Tim. And out in the mysterious East, it's Michael Cox. Michael, tell us about the room that you're currently in.
I'm in the media centre in Doha at midnight, and it's probably the biggest room I've ever been in. It's absolutely huge.
Wow.
And there's about 10
Can you turn your
people.
camera
I was going
around?
to say, it doesn't look that big from the view we've got.
I can try. I'm plugged
Listen,
into
you
a
might
lot
be
of
able to see
stuff
this
there.
on our YouTube channel, which is definitely worth checking out. Well, because Michael's rotating his... Jeez, it just goes on and on and on. I didn't think Qatar was that big.
Yeah, this room and Doha and Qatar are actually all the same size.
Jeez.
All three
Well, there you
things.
go. That's one thing we learnt today. What are some of the others? On to Argentina, Australia. Leo Messi opening the scoring in Saturday night's Argentina-Australia clash, which finished 2-1. One or two nervous moments at the end for the Albiceleste. But one message to take from this game, Michael, look out World Cup. Messi started having fun again.
Yeah, I think he was. I think there were flashes of brilliance as well in the group stage. But yeah, he played well tonight. I didn't think they didn't create anything really before his opening goal. Although I did think they were actually moving the ball very quickly. I thought it was a first half where both teams played quite well. I think Australia did what they had to do. They were very compact. They were very solid. They were quite aggressive. And even though Argentina weren't really breaking them down, I think they were constantly shifting them. But yeah, obviously a fantastic goal from Messi, a fairly classic Messi goal. I love the way it was teed up as well. Was it Otamendi with the touchback, just kind of playing almost a hold-up target man role briefly, just doing whatever you've got to do to get Messi in the situation he wants to be in. But yeah, it was a lovely goal.
Messi had so many roles to play in that goal, including the hard man provoking the Aussie player, Beich, who then conceded the foul because he got a bit knocked over the whole thing, from which the move developed, which saw Messi scoring.
Yeah, a side of Messi you don't see too often, really. And yeah, it's a bit of a cliche. We were discussing it earlier, but I think Messi's one of the few players on the pitch who could actually score that goal. It was just so frustrating for Australia. That was exactly the type of goal that they were trying not to concede, and they were doing that really well. I was quite impressed with how disciplined they were. But it's literally half a yard, half a second. I think the ball goes basically through three players, including Suter's legs. Yeah, fantastic moment.
That was perhaps the moment for this Cinderella side. The clock struck midnight and struck it hard. Shortly after, it was Julian Alvarez who scored Argentina's second, pouncing on Matt Ryan's mistake after Rodrigo de Paul had put the press on, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting this World Cup because it feels like there's more teams who are trying to play out and they're trying to get their goalkeeper to do, advanced things with his feet. But it feels to me like there's just not the cohesion you have at club level. There's not the understanding at the back. And even though that was just an individual error, it wasn't about two teammates not communicating. I just can't help feeling there's going to be an even bigger goal at this World Cup that comes from a goalkeeper dallying on the ball in his own box. I mean, we did have it in the last World Cup final, actually, with Hugo Lloris's error, but that was a consolation goal. But yeah, it was unfortunate. There was, in the early game, US goalkeeper Matt Turner had a couple of nervous moments, I thought, with the ball at his feet, and you just constantly sense that it might be about to happen in this World Cup.
Well, Australia tried it themselves a couple of times on Emi Martinez. And indeed, even though Argentina were kind of playing on a completely different level to Australia for most of the game, there were a couple of moments when you thought, my goodness, Oz are going to open this up again. I mean, they get a goal back. And then with pretty much the last kick of the game, they very nearly equalised.
Yeah, well, there was the Behic run earlier when he took on 4-5 players. He's shaping up to be one of the all-time World Cup goals. It was that good. And yeah, late chance for Kual. Is that how we pronounce it? Yeah, late chance for Kual, Newcastle bound, and just couldn't quite squeeze. In fact, it was a really good save from Emi Martinez. You've got to give credit to Australia. I don't mean to sound patronising when I say they're probably the most spirited team we've seen at the tournament so far. If you look at their XG combined in 4 matches, it's not as much as Romelu Lukaku's second half XG for Belgium the other night. So they've definitely squeezed as much out of themselves as they could have. And there are a lot of players here who just don't ever play in these type of games. I was looking at some of their next opponents when they get brought back down to earth in Scotland and Italy and England. They're playing the likes of Livingston, Motherwell, Cardiff. So yeah, they live the dream, I think, and hopefully raise the profile of the game back home, which is one of their sort of ambitions for the tournament, and I'm sure they've done that.
Yeah, well, they gave us a lot of enjoyment. By the same token, Michael, there has been a narrative with Argentina that they started in shocking fashion and then begun to show signs of life, begun to show the real Argentina. And I guess you could see parts of today's game as part of that. But then again, they were facing technically the worst team in the last 16.
Yeah, that is probably true. I thought it was interesting how defensive they went, actually, when they're forced to make a substitution, bringing off Papu Gomez and brought on Martinez as a fifth defender. I mean, they can play, but they're also quite, I think, a very aggressive team. They defend well when they have to. They do the dirty stuff. They get in last-ditch blocks. And Martinez, of course, made that brilliant last-ditch tackle on Behic when he went through. So, yeah, they've got two sides to them. They've got a couple of fantastic technical players, but I think more than anything, they are quite rugged. And I think that might be more obvious when they play better teams who arguably might outplay them technically. But yeah, I just think Argentina can dig in more than most of the favourites.
Hello there. If you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to this channel? And if you'd like more Totally Football Show content, then just search for us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Not an Athletic subscriber yet? Then just head to theathletic.com/totally to find out our latest entry offer.